Grace and peace. Oh, yes. It's another GODfident Mondays. Another time to remind us that we have got to have confidence in God. Us having confidence in ourselves just won't be enough. This week, we're coming from the story of Jonah. Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. One day the Lord spoke to Jonah, son of Amittai. He said, "Go to Nineveh, that great city, and speak out against it. I am aware of how wicked its people are." Jonah, however, set out in the opposite direction in order to get away from the Lord. And so much has taken place in the story of Jonah that we may be aware of, right? We understand that Jonah was thrown overboard and a big fish swallowed him up, and he was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. However, what we've got to understand is that at a point, Jonah relinquished confidence in God. See, God had initially called Jonah to go to the land of Nineveh, to decree and declare what thus saith the Lord. Jonah, being in his feelings, didn't have the confidence initially to go and do so. And that's because sometimes, like Jonah, we put confidence in ourselves. We put confidence in our titles. We put confidence in the work, forgetting that the confidence has always got to remain in the source, and that is God. See, when we can operate with Godfidence in every aspect of what we do in life, essentially there could be nothing the enemy uses against us to deter us away from doing what thus saith the Lord. Jonah didn't want to go to the land of Nineveh. He had his own reasons. He had his own feelings for the reason why. And as a result, he tried to get as far away from the presence of God as possible. Can I get you to understand that the lack of operating in Godfidence can literally push you further and further and further away from God? That God intends for you to allow him to be your source so that there could be nothing. Not friends turning their backs on you. Not the job thanking you or deeming you as not worthy enough. Not relationship counting you unqualified. Not society saying that you haven't lived good enough. Not culture saying that you're not black enough or white enough or cultural enough. But when we put our source and our confidence in God, then we're reminded that no matter what we may face, no matter what we may come in contact, or no matter what the trial or season may be, that we've got all that we need to come out on top. And guess what? Coming out on top can't be defined numerically. Coming out on top can't be defined by physical means. But coming out on top truly is actually defined by what we are able to do in and for God. See, it's our commitment and sacrifice to the service of God that reinforces the confidence in God, that reinforces the Godfidence. Jonah had to be reminded in the midst of his disobedience. So God had the nerve to say, "I'm going to call a fish to swallow you." What's the fish God has allowed to swallow you in your life? What's the fish that God has allowed to be the reminding force for the need for you to submit yourself back to God? What is the fish that God has allowed to swallow you to remind you that you need Godfidence to live and walk this life? Today, GODfident Monday, be reminded that we have got to have Godfidence in order for this to work. We need Godfidence because this world we live in is finicky. It's finicky. It's temporal. The truth of the matter is that if we put our dependence on things that aren't long lasting, we can have many Jonah moments. But I like to redefine this because although that may have been Jonah's moment initially, Jonah then resubmitted himself back to the ordinance and the obedience of God. I need someone to be reminded that we have got to maintain our Godfidence, our confidence in God, because it's imperative. that we push to being obedient to God even when it makes us uncomfortable. Grace and peace, family.